What is going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. What on earth just happened to Shadow Priest? Holy crap. I am on the 10.1 PTR, and Shadow Priest just got a massive amount of changes. I don't know if I would call it like a rework, but it's definitely the biggest overhaul that the spec has seen since Dragonflight has come out. This is absolutely insane, the number of changes that have just come through for Shadow Priest. I'm going to try to go through all of them. Let me just say what this video is going to be about. We're going to start with what changes have actually happened in the tree. There's like more than 15 changes here, like a massive amount of changes. Then we're going to move into Sear being gone now. Yes, you heard that right. Sear is gone. And the ramifications of mental decay. What does that mean for mental decay and our dots and extending our dots and kind of what essentially is going to become our spec identity, because it really is going to kind of dictate how we want to play Mythic Plus in particular. How are we going to play those keys with big AoE damage, etc. So let's start with all the huge changes that have come through. Number one, first and foremost, Sear is gone. It is gone from the top of the tree. Also, Dark Void is gone, which used to be like spreading Shadow or Pain to a bunch of enemies. That's gone now. So Misery is just baseline. This is how they want you to play the game now. And Psychic Link has now become the baseline de facto AoE talent. And it has changed massively. It now says your damaging single target spells deal 40% of their damage to all other targets affected by Vampiric Touch within 40 yards. Now, this is not what it used to say, right? So it used to say certain abilities. In the very beginning, in 10.0, it was only Mind Spike, Mind Blast, and Mind Flay that would do it, right? And then we kind of had it expand over the course of time. I'll come back to Psychic Link in a minute. Let me just keep going with the other changes that are coming on here. So Encroaching Shadows has moved up the tree. It used to be way down here, and like down here basically. It's moved up, of course. Mind Spike is still where it used to be, but if you look very closely at the tooltip, it now says it replaces Mind Flay. It replaces it now. So you can either choose to do a Mind Spike type gameplay or a Mind Flay gameplay, but what doesn't really make sense to me is that all the buffs that apply to Mind Flay now actually apply to Mind Spike. So something like Dark Evangelism, for example, which used to only apply to Mind Flay and Void Torrent, now includes Mind Spike because, of course, Mind Spike replaces Mind Flay. So same with Cthulhu down here. Obviously, Cthulhu got moved, but Mind Flay, Mind Spike, and Void Torrent all have a chance to spawn a Void Tendril. So this is really weird. I was talking this about with some friends. It's definitely strange because this used to be Mind Spike used to just be kind of an extra button that we pressed, and in particular when we got the buff that made it instant cast, and that instant cast Mind Spike is now gone. No more instant cast Mind Spike at all. So I don't really know what to make of this right now. I like pressing Mind Spike, but it doesn't really make sense with all the other buffs. They did want to consolidate button bloat, and essentially they just chose to say, hey, you can have a Mind Spike gameplay style or a Mind Flay, but they don't do anything different anymore. Because Mind Spike doesn't get the instant cast proc anymore, there's no difference between the spells. So it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like, if there was a distinct difference between these two spells, then great. I'm glad to have the option, but there really isn't a difference between them. One, you stand in channel. One, you're going to have to cast twice. In the same amount of time that it would take you to channel a Mind Flay, you cast 2 Mind Spikes. It's the same thing. Except now, Mind Spike actually buffs the critical strike chance of Mind Blast, as it always did before. This is nerfed, by the way. So, but it doesn't say, you know, it doesn't apply to Mind Flay. If you don't take Mind Spike, you're not going to get Mind Melt. So you're not going to get the 20% stacking crit on Mind Blast. So you're not going to get that. That's like a DPS loss, right? If you don't take Mind Spike plus Mind Melt, you're just losing damage, I think. From what I can see here, I think you're just losing damage. So, very strange choices. I don't really get that. Shadow Crash is now 2 talents to get the same effect that we had before. So I don't really understand that either. Why did they separate it? It's just like less power now. Like you just lost power, which is really frustrating. Everything that used to be on the left side of the tree used to be coalescing shadows, which used to cause your certain abilities to generate a coalescing shadow. Then your mind spike or your mind blast would consume the shadow and deal an extra 10% damage stacking, depending how many coalescings you were getting. Those 3 talents are gone. That was 3 talents. They're gone now. So, and I can't find a replacement for it in my book, in my spell book at all. Like there is no, it's not like they just baked coalescing shadows into the baseline kit of Shadow Priest. From what I can tell, if I'm wrong here, somebody point it out to me. But from what I can tell, coalescing shadows is literally just gone. So that's kind of strange. Let's keep going here. There's a new talent called Void Touch. It increases the Devouring Plague damage by 6%, but most importantly, it increases your maximum insanity by 50, which is kind of interesting. It means you're not going to overcap on insanity anymore. If you're getting multiple procs from like Mind Devour back to back to back, we all know that problem, right? Where you're trying to cast Mind Flay Insanity, but you're getting a proc on Mind Devourer, and it's like you're just continuing to gain resources. You don't have enough GCDs to get rid of all the buttons that you need to get rid of. Now, you should be able to deal with that better with the extra 50 insanity from Void Touch. That's pretty cool, actually. I kind of like this talent. Ancient Madness, Mind Devour, and Mind Melt have all been nerfed. Their like proc rates have all been nerfed. So Ancient Madness used to be 20% crit. It's 10. Mind Devour used to be a 20% chance, 15% chance maybe. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a 50% chance. Now it's 8. And Mind Melt used to be 50% crit on Mind Blast. It's now 20. So, I'm not really sure what to say about that, except that you're not using 2 spenders anymore. You're only using 1 spender in Devouring Plague. So maybe it's okay because you're casting Devouring Plague more often than you were casting Mind Sear. Like maybe that's why they've decided to make these changes. But a lot nerfs, essentially just nerfs across the board. There's a new talent here called Phantasmal Pathogen. This makes shadowy apparitions do up to 150% more damage to targets affected by Devouring Plague, which of course, that's your only spender now, so you're going to be using Devouring Plague a lot. This was okay. I actually used it. I tried a little build where I focused just on shadowy apparitions, and they seem to do a lot more damage. So this might be a legitimate path you could take if you go down and get Tormented Spirits as well, which of course has moved, as you can see here. Devouring Plague, insanity cost down by 5. 5 seems like completely insignificant to me. Like, if it was 10, it would be really good. But 5 seems like nothing. So, I don't know. I feel like taking this is really dumb. 5 just seems really bad to me. Make it 10 or make it nothing. Make it something else. 5 just seems like a really weird amount to me. So that's kind of weird. Insidious Ire got buffed. While you have your 3 dots on an enemy, your Mind Blast does 40% more damage, but also now they include Void Torrent does 40% more damage now, which is very interesting. So now, of course, you're always going to have all 3 of your dots on whatever target you're funneling into, which we'll talk about funnel in a minute, because this is kind of where we're going, right? Now your Void Torrent is going to do 40% more damage. That's no joke. This is your hardest hitting ability, like by far. So that's a pretty big buff to Insidious Ire. Maybe we'll make you want to take it now. Idol of Cthulhu can now proc off of Mind Spike, of course, because it replaces Mind Flay. And then you got Void Torrent causing it to proc as well. And it can either proc a Mind Flay, a single target lasher, or a Mind Sear, an AoE lasher. It can do both of them. And yes, Idol Cthulhu still casts Mind Sear, even though we can't cast it anymore. So, interesting. I've heard that if you have more than 2 targets, you have a chance to proc Mind Sear. If you have less than 2 targets, I guess it'll always proc with a Mind Flay. So, kind of interesting there. Mastermind is a new talent over here. Increases the critical strike chance of Mind Blast, Mind Spike, Mind Flay by 4% if you have 2 points into it. And their critical strike damage by 25%. Again, we have lots of crit synergy with Ancient Madness and just getting crit on our gear. So, this is actually not bad. It means you'll be critting a lot. And if you're critting, you're making more Auspicious Spirits, right? Critical strikes from Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, and Void Bolt conjure. The critical strikes will increase the damage by 100%. You can obviously get crits to proc with Tormented Spirits your Shadow Word Pain as well. So there is a lot of crit synergy there, which is pretty cool. This replaces Pain of Death, which used to make Shadow Word Death cleave, which was like my favorite talent. But they're actually baking that into Psychic Link, which we'll get to in a second. That's all the new stuff that's coming in for the talent. So let me shift over now to Mind Sear, Psychic Link, and the problem that I think is going to persist now for Shadow Priest, which of course centers around Mental Decay. So here's the problem. The duration of your dots was extended by pressing Mind Sear. So you would get your dots out, and then you would do damage, and then you would press Mind Sear, and it would extend all your dots. Now you can't do that. You just can't do that anymore. Even if you got a Mind Sear proc from Idol of Cthulhu, it doesn't matter. The only way to increase your dots in AoE is by pressing Void Eruption and pressing Void Ball. You can see them all get extended there. That's the only way to do it. So all my dots have fallen off now, right? I'm going to go Shadow Crash again into Void Bolt. Watch all the dots. They will extend. They used to do that anyway. This isn't new. I'm just showing you this is the only actual way to extend your dots in an AoE format now, unless you're just going to tab target through enemies with your Mind Spike or your Mind Flay. I'm tab targeting through and I'm extending each individual dot, which is really not fun gameplay. Let me tell you, I do not enjoy playing the game like that. So this is the critical problem now with Shadow Priest, is that you can't extend your dots. And if your dots fall off, all of your damage, all of your insanity generation, it just goes right in the toilet, right? Our damage scales off of our mastery. Your damage is increased by 10% for each Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, Devouring Plague on the enemy. So if you are, if your dots are falling off, you're losing 20% of your damage, and then sometimes 30% of your damage from Devouring Plague not being there. So that's so much damage lost. And then, of course, your dots also generate insanity. Vampiric Touch generates 4 insanity. Shadow Word Pain generates 3 insanity. So all your resource generation and a huge chunk of your damage just goes in the toilet when you can't extend your dots, which we're not doing anymore. Mind Sear used to just be the easy, press the button, extend the dots. So here's something that's interesting about this. There are people running the no Mind Sear build on sub creation here. This is Shadow Priest in Mythic Plus. They're doing plus 25 keys, plus 27 keys. Like, look at this plus 27 guy. He's not running Mind Sear, okay? This is his build. He's not running Mind Sear. He's got Mind Flay Insanity. So I'm not saying that it's not possible. This is the current build right now, guys. This is somebody on live servers doing this, okay? So I'm not saying it's not possible. There's other builds that also include no Mind Sear. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it really makes, I think, Shadow Priest unfun to play, in my opinion. And I actually don't think that Blizzard's going to keep this the way it is. I feel like they just threw this up on the PTR to get it in front of us, to see, okay, we want it in front of the players. Let's see what they're going to do with it. And I really honestly feel like they're going to make modifications to Shadow Crash to make it so that we can continuously get our dots out there. Like, we're still hard capped at 8 targets with Shadow Crash, right? So, like, we're still not even getting, even if we could cast this every 15 seconds or something, we're still not getting, like, uncapped AoE, like a Pharaoh Druid might have with Berserk. So, I don't really see the point in them restricting our ability to extend our dots. So, what I think they might do, again, and this is very early days, patch 10.1 isn't coming out until June, so we've got time, don't panic. I think Blizzard understands what they've done, and they're just putting this in front of us to see what we want to say. I think that very realistically, they could take Shadow Crash and bring it down to like a 20-second cooldown, because your dots last about 24 seconds or so. My Vampiric Touch lasts for 21 seconds. 21 seconds is the dot time. So make this a 20-second cooldown. Or give me 2 charges. Put the power in the player. Give us 2 charges, right? Those are some possible solutions that they come up with. I don't think it's going to stay like this. That's my bottom line there. Let me talk really quickly about where we came from. In patch 10.0, Psychic Link only procced on 3 abilities. Mind Blast, Mind Flame, Mind Spike. Okay? We supplemented our AoE damage in patch 10.0 with Mind Bender and Inescapable Torment and stuff like that. Patch 10.0.5 drop, which is the current patch right now, Psychic Link got a huge buff. It now went from Mind Blast, Mind Spike, Mind Flay, and it added 3 more abilities. Now we had Mind Games, Void Torrent, and Void Bolt. So now we have 6 abilities that proc Psychic Link damage. That's the current live game right now, which is very, very cool. So they pushed more priority AoE damage into Psychic Link, and over the course of a dungeon, Psychic Link would end up becoming roughly 20% of your overall damage. In patch 10.0, it was maybe only 9-10% of your overall damage. Heading into patch 10.1, we could see them pushing Psychic Link even further. Now, it says all of your single target spell damage deals 40% to other targets effective by every touch. This includes 2 more abilities now. 2 more single target abilities, which is Devouring Plague and Shadow Word Death. So they got rid of the Pain of Death talent, and they just baked it right into Psychic Link now. So now we have Mind Blast, Mind Spike, Mind Flay, Mind Games, Void Torrent, Void Bolt, Devouring Plague, and Shadow Word Death. They all trigger Psychic Link damage. So you can see the shift over time. We had 3 abilities, then we had 6, now we have 8. We have 8 now that all go into Psychic Link, and then they've just got rid of Mind Sear altogether. Now, if you look at your damage profile, or look at something that was a little bit earlier, your Psychic Link ends up being 30% of your damage. So it started out in the very beginning of the game being about 10%. Patch 10.0.5, it's like 20%. Now it's going to be more like 30% of your damage. Okay? That's the shift over time. That's where Blizzard has taken us to right now where we are today. What does this mean? What does this mean for our spec identity? What does this mean? Like, what kind of class are we in Mythic Plus? I would say, over the course of time, Blizzard has shifted us towards being more of a funnel class. So now I have all my dots rolling with Shadow Crash, but I'm putting Devouring Plague on one enemy, and I'm pushing all my damage into that one enemy. All the other dots are generating resources for me and helping spread my damage around, but most of my damage is being funneled into one target, one priority target. I'm blasting that target, and I'm getting cleave damage from Psychic Link off of that target. Rather than just having a Mind Sear that just goes meh and hits everybody, having a more of an uncapped AoE feeling, Blizzard has shifted us gradually over time, patch by patch, into a more of a funnel class, I think. And I think that is interesting. I don't know if they're going to keep it the way it is, but that is an interesting idea. Let's just switch to Dark Ascension here, and let me show you what this looks like really quickly. Here's what it's going to look like. We got a bunch of priests here. So again, let me get my turn up out really quick so we get an extra target, just so we could see the damage. It doesn't really matter. Damage will change, but we're just going to do that. Here we go. Dark Ascension, Shadow Crash. I'm going speedy. I'm going Shadow Fiend. Okay, here we go. Devouring Plagues on the enemy, and then I'm just pumping all my single target damage into this enemy. And I'm splashing that damage onto the other enemies. So it's priority damage into this one target. None of my dots are being extended because I took Dark Ascension instead of Void Eruption. So my dots are going to fall off here. We understand that that's what's going to happen. That's okay. Here we go. Devouring Plague. Now my Shadow Crash is back right now. So my dots fell off for about 5-6 seconds or so, which is not fun. But they're back now, and we're funneling again. We're back to funneling now. All my damage into this one target. Devouring Plague into this target. Make sure that I'm hitting it as much as I can. Our dots are going to fall off again very soon, but that's okay. You can see it's very simple, and what people were asking for, this is about 8 seconds on Shadow Crash, by the way. I'm going to hold my cooldowns till I get Dark Ascension back. What people were asking for is exactly this, in a sense. They were asking for button bloat to be removed. We don't want buttons bloating our keybinds anymore. We're sick and tired of it. So they consolidated all this stuff and said, you know what? Here you go. You can have just Mind Spike instead of Mind Flay, and then you're just focusing on tunneling one target. It's very simple. It's very easy to execute. There's nothing complicated about this, but you don't get the dot extension anymore. Now, that's okay. Look at the damage overall here. Look at Psychic Link. It's above 30% of our damage. Echoing Void, yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of other stuff there. Is this thing easier to play? Is the button bloat gone? A little bit, yeah. It is gone a little bit. I'm missing 2 buttons out of my rotation here. Mind Flay and Mind Sear are just gone because they got rid of Mind Sear, and then if you take Mind Spike, it replaces your thing, of course. I'm not entirely sure what to think in terms of builds. You can still take Death Speaker, which I think is kind of cool. I'm going to show you a Death Speaker build here with Echoing Void. We're going to take Mindbender again. I'm going to get rid of Insidious Ire. We're going to go back to the original build from 10.0. Here are some of my conclusions really quickly. We'll do one more DPS test here, but here's some of my conclusions. It is simpler to play. Yes, it is. Are your dots falling off on enemies for about 8 seconds per pack? Is that a big, major problem? Well, I don't know. I don't think it is maybe that big of a problem because there's people doing these builds right now, as we saw. On the live server, people are doing Dark Ascension builds without Mind Sear, and they're doing just fine. Are we okay with Blizzard pushing us into a more funnel-style class? Is everybody okay with that? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below of your opinion on that part in particular. Here's a Mindbender rotation here. Again, going back to Inescapable Torment. Just to check the damage really quick. We go Dark Ascension into Crash, into Speed, into Bender, into Go, 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 Go. We want to get Devouring Plague out as quick as possible. We got a proc on Shadow Word Death. And then we're going to go into this. We're looking for Shadow Word Death procs. This is more splash damage. Remember, it splashes Psychic Link damage now. So it's very, very good. Again, we're still funneling into one target. We're still funneling, but we have a bit more damage from Inescapable Torment now. You can see our damage is higher. I'm going to hold my Shadow Word Death because I don't have any dots up. Now I'm going to press it to get the splash damage. Okay? So you're making interesting choices like that. Like sometimes you might want to hold your cooldowns for a couple seconds to wait till Shadow Crash comes back up, and then you can dump all your damage out in these little mini burst windows that Shadow Crash is giving you. Okay? Again, Psychic Link is a little bit less now, but we've pumped more damage into Inescapable Torment. So you can kind of choose what you want to do there. Here's my final conclusions here. Let me summarize all this for you. Number one, there's like 16 different talent changes here. So we're going to have to wait and see what the outcome of that really is. Like there's a ridiculous amount of changes here, okay? There's tons and tons of changes. Is the tree more consolidated than it was before? Yes. We've lost some button bloat. That has absolutely happened, which is a good thing. The transition over time, you can see it from 10.0, 3 abilities into Psychic Link, 10.0.5, 6 abilities into Psychic Link, 10.1, 8 abilities that go into Psychic Link, and then Mind Sear is now gone. You can see the transition over time from Blizzard. Are we now becoming a bit of a funnel spec? This is the question I leave before you. What do you think? Do you think that we are going to be like a really, really strong funneling AoE class? Is our ability to do uncapped AoE just gone now? Maybe with a Dark Void Eruption build, it might still be there. I'm not entirely sure. I need to do some more testing. What do you guys think? I'd love to know in the comments down below. Please let me know what you think about all the changes to Shadow Priest. It is massive. I don't think it's a bad. I think it's ultimately pretty good. It's just very different. And I think that the direction Blizzard's going is interesting. Whether they're going to go full funnel, that'll be interesting to see. If they're going to revert mental decay a little bit and say, you know what, even if you press Mind Spike, it'll still make all of your dots extend. Or if they give us like 2 charges on Shadow Crash, those would all be interesting solutions in my mind to be able to extend our dots. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.